Hi guys, so we are continuing reading Wonder for National Disability Awareness Month, and we left off with August, or Augie like you guys like to call him, meeting Charlotte, Jack, Will, and Julian, and they are taking a tour of the school. And remember, the kids aren't really looking at him. Julian finally talked to him, but Jack Will isn't being so nice, and Charlotte's pretty much talking about herself and her play. So we are going to continue with pages 31 through 46. Okay, here we go. The deal. Mom and Mr. Tushman were talking when I got back to the office. Mrs. Garcia was the first to see us come back, and she started smiling her shiny smile as we walked in. So, August, what did you think? Did you like what you saw? She asked. Yeah, I nodded, looking over at Mom. Jack, Julian, and Charlotte were standing by the door, not sure where to go if they were still needed. I wondered what else been told about me before they met me. As I shook my head, Julian said, "Are you?" Oh, I missed the whole sentence, guys. Did you see the baby chick? Mom asked. As I shook my head, Julian said, "Are you talking about the baby chicks in science?" Those got donated to a farm at the end of those get donated to a farm at the end of every school year. Oh, Mom said, disappointed. But they hatch new ones every year in science, Julian added. So August would be able to see them again in spring. Oh, good, Mom said, eyeing me. They're so cute, August. I wish she couldn't talk to me like I was a baby in front of the other people. So, August, said Mr. Tishman, did you guys show did these guys show you around enough, or do you want to see more? I realized I forgot to ask them to show you the gym. We did anyway, Mr. Tushman, said Julian. Excellent, said Mr. Tushman. And I told him about the school play and some of the electives, said Charlotte. Oh no, she said suddenly. We forgot to show him the art room. That's okay, said Mr. Tushman. But we can show him But we can show it to him now, Charlotte offered. Don't we have to pick Via up soon, I said to Mom. That was our original signal for telling my mom I really wanted to leave. Oh, you're right, said Mom, getting up. I could tell she was pretending to check on the time on her watch. I'm sorry, everybody. I lost track of time. We have to go pick up my daughter at her new school. She is taking an unofficial tour today. That part wasn't a lie. Via was checking out her new school today. The part that was a lie was she was picking her up at school, which we weren't. She was coming home with Dad later. Where does she go to school? Asked Mr. Tushman, getting up. She's starting Faulkner High School this fall. Wow, that's not an easy school to get in. Good for her. Thank you, said Mom, nodding. It'll be a bit of a schlep, though. The A train down 86, then across town bus all the way to the east side. Takes an hour that way, but it's just 15 minutes drive. It'll be worth it. I know a couple of kids who got into Faulkner and love it, said Mr. Tushman. We should really go, Mom, I said, tugging at her pocketbook. We said goodbye. Sorry, turning it up. Hopefully that helps. Um, where was I? We said goodbye kind of quickly after that. I think Mr. Tushman was a little surprised that we were leaving so suddenly, and then I wondered if he would blame Jack and Charlotte, even though it really was only Julian who made me feel bad. Everyone was really nice. I made sure to tell Mr. Tushman before we left. I look forward to having you as a student, said Mr. Tushman, patting my back. Bye, I said to Jack, Charlotte, and Julian, but I didn't look at them or look up at all until I left the building. Home. As soon as we walked at least half a block from the school, Mom said, "So, how did it go? Did you like it?" "Not yet, Mom. When we get home," I said. The moment we got inside, I ran into my room, threw myself on my bed, and I could tell Mom didn't know what was up. And I guess I really didn't either. I felt sad and a teeny bit happy at the exact same time. Kind of like laughing, crying, feeling all over again. My dog Daisy followed me into the room, jumped on the bed, and instead of licking me all over my face, "Who's a good girlie?" and started licking me all over my face. "Who's a good girlie?" I said in my dad voice. Oh, I read that wrong. "Who's a good girlie?" I said in my dad voice. "Who's a good girlie?" "Is everything okay, sweetness?" Mom said. She wanted to sit down beside, but Daisy was hogging the bed. "Excuse me, Daisy." She sat down, nudging Daisy over. "Were those kids nice to you, Augie?" "Oh no," I said, only half lying. Were those kids not nice to you, Augie?" "Oh no," I said, half lying. "They were okay." "But were they nice?" Mr. Tushman went out of his way to tell me what sweet kids they were. "Uh-huh," I nodded, but I kept looking at Daisy kissing her on the nose and rubbing her ears back until her back leg that did a little flea strut shake. "That boy Julian seemed really nice," she said. "Oh no, he's the least nice. I like Jack though. He was nice. I thought his name was Jack Will, but it's just Jack. Wait, maybe I'm getting them confused. Which one was the dark-haired with that was brushed forward?" "Julian. And he wasn't nice?" "No, not nice. Remember, guys, Julian is the one that was making the rude marks and asked if he was in a fire. And he didn't do it nicely. He didn't ask nicely." She thought about that for a second. "Okay, so he is the kind of kid who is one way in front of grown-ups and another way in front of kids?" "Yeah, I guess." "Oh, I hate those," she answered, nodding. "He's like, so August, what's the deal with your face?" I said, looking at Daisy the whole time. "Were you in a fire or something?" Mom didn't say anything. When I looked at her, I could see that she was completely in shock. "He didn't say it in a mean way," I said quickly. "He was just asking." Mom nodded. "But I really like Jack," I said. "He was like, 'Shut up, Julian,' and Charlotte was like, 'You're so rude, Julian.'" Mom nodded. She pressed her fingers to her forehead like she was pushing against a headache. "I'm so sorry, Augie," she said quietly. Her cheeks were bright red. "No, it's okay, Mom, really. You don't have to go to the school if you don't want to, sweetie." "I want to," I said. "Augie?" "Really, Mom, I want to." And I wasn't lying. First day jitters. Okay, so I admit, the first day of school, I was so nervous that the butterflies in my stomach were more like pigeons flying around my inside. My mom and dad were probably a little nervous too, but they acted excited for me, taking pictures of me and Via before we left the house, since it was Via's first day of school too. Up until a few days before, we still weren't sure I would be going to school at all. After the tour of the school, Mom and Dad had reversed sides on whether I should go or not. Mom was now the one saying I shouldn't go, and Dad was saying I should. Dad had told me he was really proud of how I handled myself and Julian and what I was turning into quite a strong man. And I heard him tell Mom that he now thought she had been right all along, but Mom, I could tell, wasn't sure anymore. Then Dad told her that he and Via wanted to walk me to school today, too, since it was on the way to the subway station. Mom seemed relieved that he would go, that we would all be going together. And I guess I was too. Even though Breacher Prep is just a few blocks from our house, I've only been on that block a couple of times before. In general, I try to avoid blocks where there are a lot of kids roaming around. On our block, everybody knows me, and I know everybody. I know every brick, every tree trunk, every crack in the sidewalk. I know Mrs. Grimaldole, the lady who's always sitting by her window, the old guy who walks up and down the street whistling like a bird. I know the deli on the corner where Mom gets bagels, the waitresses at the coffee shop who all call me honey and give me lollipops whenever they see me. I love my neighborhood of North River Heights, which is why it's so strange to be walking down these blocks feeling like it was all new to me suddenly. Amsfort Ave was a street I've been down a million times, looked totally different for some reason, full of people I saw before, waiting for buses, pushing strollers. We crossed Amsfort up and turned up Heights Place. Via walked next to me like she usually does, and Mom and Dad were beside us. As as we turned the corner, we saw all the kids in front of the school, hundreds of them talking to each other in little groups, laughing and standing with their parents who were talking to other parents. I kept my head way down. Everyone was just as nervous as you are, said Via in my ear. Just remember that it's everyone's first day at school, okay? Mr. Tushman was greeting the students and the parents in the front of the school entrance. I have to admit, so far nothing bad had happened. I didn't catch anyone staring at me or noticing me. Only once did I look up to see girls looking my way and whispering with their hands cupped over their mouth, but they looked away when they saw me notice them. We reached the front entrance. Okay, so you're a big boy, said Dad, putting his hands on top of my shoulders. Have a great day. I love you, said Via, giving me a big kiss and hug. You too, I said. I love you, Augie, said Dad, hugging me. Bye. Then Mom hugged me, and I could tell she was about to cry, which could have totally embarrassed me, so I just gave her a fast, hard hug, turned, and disappeared into the school. So moms love giving their kids hugs, and I know you guys are getting older and you really don't want hugs, but we love giving them. They're just so special. Locks. Locks. I went straight to room 301 on the third floor. Now I was glad I had gone on that little tour because I knew exactly where to go and I didn't have to look up once. I noticed some kids are definitely staring at me now. I did my thing pretending not to notice. I went inside the classroom. The teacher was writing on the chalkboard while all the kids started sitting at different desks. The desks were in a half circle facing the chalkboard. So I chose the desk in the middle towards the back, which I thought would make it harder for everyone to stare at me. I still kept my head way down, just looking up enough from under my bangs to see everyone's feet. As the desk started to fill up, I did notice that no one sat next to me. A couple of times someone was sitting about to sit next to me and then changed his or her mind at the last minute and sat somewhere else. Hey, August! It was Charlotte giving me her little wave as she sat at the desk in front of the class. Why anyone would ever choose to sit in the front of the class, I don't know. Miss O always sat in the front of the class. I liked it. Hey, I said, nodding hello. Then I noticed Julian was sitting a few seats away from her, talking to some other kids. I know he saw me, but didn't say hello. Suddenly, someone was sitting next to me. It was Jack Will. Jack! "What's up?" he said, nodding at me. "Hey, Jack," I answered, waving my hand, which I immediately wish I hadn't done because it kind of felt uncool. "Okay, kids. Okay, everybody, settle down," said the teacher, now facing us. She had written her name, Miss Petosa, on the chalkboard. "Everybody find a seat, please. Come on," she said to a couple of kids who had walked into the room. "There's a seat there and right there." She hadn't noticed me yet. "Now, first thing I want everybody to do, stop talking and..." She noticed me. "Put your backpacks down and quiet down." She only had hesitated for a millionth of a second, but I could tell she saw me. Like I said, I'm used to it by now. "I'm going to take attendance and do a seating chart," she continued, sitting at the edge of her desk. Next to her were three neat rows of accordion folders, which, when I call your name, come up and I'll hand you a folder with your name on it. It contains your class schedule and your combination lock, which you should not try and open until I tell you to. Your locker number is written on your class schedule. Be forewarned that some lockers are not right outside this class, but down the hallway. And before anyone thinks of asking, no, you cannot switch lockers. No, you cannot switch locks. Then, if there is time at the end of this period, we're going to get to know each other a little better. Okay? She picked up the clipboard and her desk and started reading the names out loud. "Okay, Julian Albans," she said, looking out. Julian raised his hand and said, "Here," at the same time. "Hi, Julian," she said, making a note on her seating chart. She picked up the first folder and held it out towards him. "Come pick it up," she said, in a kind of no-nonsense. He got up, took it from her. "Eczema chin?" She handed the folder to each kid, read off the names. As she went down the list, I noticed the seat next to me was only one still empty, even though there were two kids sitting at one desk and a few seats away. She called the name of one of the big kids, named Harry Julpin, who already looked like a teenager. She said, "Harry, there's an empty desk right over there. Why don't you take that seat, okay?" She handed him the folder and pointed to the next to mine. Although I didn't look at him directly, I could tell Henry did not want to move next to me, just by the way he dragged his backpack on the floor as he came over to me, like he was moving in slow motion. Then he plopped his backpack up really high on the right side of the desk, so kind of like a wall between my desk and his. "Maya Markowitz?" Miss Petosa was saying. "Here," said the girl about 4 desks away from me. "Miles Norrie?" "Here," said the kid that had been sitting at the desk with Henry Julpin. As she walked to the desk, I saw her shoot Henry a poor you look. "August Pullman?" said Miss Petosa. "Here," I said quietly, raising my hand a bit. "Hi, August," she said, smiling at me very nicely. When I went up to get her folder, I kind of felt everyone's eyes burning into the back of my head for a few seconds. I stood up in front of the class, and everybody looked down when I walked back to my desk. I was resistant, spinning the combination, and sat down, even though everyone else was doing it, because she said specifically told them not to. I was already pretty good at opening locks anyway, because I've used them on my bike. Henry kept trying to open his lock, but couldn't do it. He was getting frustrated and kind of cursing under his breath. Mrs. Petosa called out a few names. The last name was Jack Will. After she handed Jack Will his folder, she said, "Okay, everybody, write your combination." Sorry. Okay. After she handed Jack Will his folder, she said, "Okay, everybody, write your combinations down somewhere safe so you won't forget. But if you forget, which happens to at least 3 points 2 times a semester, Mrs. Garcia has a list of all the combinations. And now go ahead, take your locks out of your folder, and spend a couple of times practicing how to open them. Though I know some of you went ahead and did it anyway." She was looking at Henry when she said that. "And in the meanwhile, I'll tell you guys a little something about myself. And then you guys can tell me something a little about yourself. And we'll get to know each other. Sound good?" "Good." She smiled at everyone, though I felt like she was smiling at me the most. It wasn't a shiny smile like Mrs. Garcia, but a normal smile like she meant it. She looked very different from what I thought teachers would look like. I guess I thought she would look like Miss Frau from Jimmy Neutron. I used to watch that as a kid. An old lady with a big bun on top of her head, but in fact she looked like Montana from Star Wars Episode 6. Haircut kind of like a boy's, and a big white shirt, kind of like a tunic. She turned around and started writing on the chalkboard. Henry still couldn't get his lock open, and he was starting to get more and more frustrated. Every time someone else popped one open, he got really annoyed, and I was able to open mine first try. Funny thing is, if he hadn't put his book bag between us, I most definitely would have offered him help. Around the room, Mrs. Petosa told us a little about who she was. It was boring stuff about where she originally came from and how she always wanted to teach, and she left her job on Wall Street about 6 years ago to pursue her dream and teach kids. She ended by asking if anyone had any questions. Julian raised his hand. Yes, she had looked on the list to remember his name. Julian. "That's cool about how you're pursuing your dream," he said. "Thank you. You're welcome," he said proudly. "Okay, why don't you tell us about yourself, Julian? Actually, here's what I want everyone to do. Think of 2 things you want other people to know about you. Actually, wait a minute. How many of you came from Beecher Lower School?" About half of the kids raised their hand. Okay, a few of you already know each other, but the rest of you, I guess, are new to the school, right? Okay, so I think of 2 things that you want people to know about you, and if you know some of the kids, try and think of things you don't already know about you. Okay? Okay. So let's start with Julian, and we'll go around the room. Julian scrunched up his face and started tapping on his forehead, like he was thinking really hard. "Okay, whenever you're ready," Miss Petosa said. "Okay, the number 1 is that do me a favor and start with your name, okay?" Miss Petosa interrupted. It'll help me remember everyone." It does. "Oh, okay. So my name is Julian, and the number 1 thing I like to tell everyone about myself is that I got a battleground mystic for my Wii, and it's totally awesome. And the number 2 thing is that we got a ping pong table this summer." "Very nice. I love ping pong," said Miss Petosa. Does anyone have a question for Julian? Is Battleground Mystic a multiplayer or a 1-player? A kid named Miles said. "Not those kind of questions," Miss Petosa said. "Okay, so how about you?" She pointed to Charlotte, probably because her desk was closest to the front. "Oh, sure." Charlotte didn't hesitate for a second, like she knew exactly what she wanted to say. "My name is Charlotte. I have 2 sisters, and we got a new puppy named Suki in July. We got her from the animal shelter, and she's so cute." "That's great, Charlotte. Thank you, Miss Petosa. Okay, who's next?" "Lamb of the slaughter." "Like a lamb of the slaughter? Something that you say about Something that you say about someone who goes somewhere clammy, not knowing something unpleasant is going to happen to them. I googled it last night. That's what I was thinking when Mrs. Petosa called my name, and suddenly it was my turn to talk. My name is August, I said, and yeah, I kind of mumbled it. What? Can you speak up, honey, Miss Petosa? My name is August, I said a little louder, forcing myself to look up. I, have a sister named Via and a dog named Daisy, I said, and, that's it. Wonderful, said Miss Petosa. Anyone have any questions for August? No one said anything. Okay, you're next, said Miss Petosa to Jack. Wait, I have a question for August, said Julian, raising his hand. Why do you have a tiny braid in the back of your head? Is that like a paddywand thing? Yeah, I shrugged. What's a paddywand thing? Said Mrs. Petosa, smiling at me. It's from Star Wars, answered Julian. A paddywand is a Jedi apprentice. Oh, interesting, answered Mrs. Petosa, looking at me. So you're into Star Wars, August? I guess. Not looking up because I really wanted because I really wanted was to slide under my desk. Who is your favorite character? Julian asked. I started to think maybe he wasn't so bad. And sorry, I am probably butchering the Star Wars name. Jango Fett? What about Darth Sidious? He said, do you like him? Okay, guys, you can talk about Star Wars stuff at recess, said Miss Petosa cheerfully. But let's keep going. We haven't heard from you yet, she said to Jack. Now it's Jack's turn. Jack's turn to talk, but I admit I didn't hear a word he said. Maybe no one got the Darth Sidious thing. Maybe Julian didn't mean anything by it. But it was Star Wars Episode 3, Revenge of the Sith. Darth Sidious' face gets burnt by Seth's lighting and becomes totally deformed. His skin gets all shriveled up and his whole face just kind of melts. I peeked at Julian and he was looking at me. Yeah, I knew what he was saying. Okay. Choose kind. There's a lot of shuffling around in the hall. Hall bell rang and everyone got up to leave. I checked my schedule and it said my next class was English, room 321. I didn't stop to see if anyone else from my homeroom was going my way. I zoomed down to the class and down the hall and sat down from far of the front as possible. The teacher, a really tall man with a yellow beard, was writing on the chalkboard. Kids came in laughing and talking in little groups, but I didn't look up. Basically, the same thing happened in homeroom again. No one sat next to me except for Jack, who was joking around with some other kids who weren't in our homeroom. I could tell Jack was the kind of kids other kids liked. He had a lot of friends. He made people laugh. When the second bell rang, everyone got quiet, and the teacher turned around and faced us. He said his name was Mr. Brown. And then he started talking about what we would be doing this semester. At a certain point, somewhere between A Wrinkle in Time and Shaun of the Sea, he noticed me and kept right on talking. I was mostly doodling in my notebook while he was talking, but every once in a while I would sneak a look at the other students. Charlotte was in my class. So were Julian and Henry. Miles wasn't. Mr. Bone had written on the chalkboard in big block letters, PRECEPT. Okay, everybody, write that down at the very top of your page. at the very top of your first page in your English notebook. As we did what he told us to. Okay, who could tell me what precept is? Does anyone know? No one raised their hand. Mr. Bone smiled, nodded, and turned around to write on the chalkboard. Precepts equals rules about really important things. Like motto. Someone called out, like a motto. Mr. Bone nodded as he continued walking down the board, writing on the board, like a famous quote, like a line from a fortune cookie. Anything and saying or ground rules that help guide us when making decisions about really important things. He wrote all the things all that on the chalkboard and then turned around and faced us. So, what are some really important things? He asked. A few kids raised their hand and he pointed to them and and they gave their answers, which he wrote down on the chalkboard in really sloppy handwriting. School rules, schoolwork, homework. What else? He said as he wrote, not even turning around, just calling out. He wrote things that everyone called out. Family, parents, pet. One girl called out, the environment. The environment. He wrote on the chalkboard and added, our world. Okay, we're going to leave off right here. And then we will continue again tomorrow. So my question to you is, why do you think Julian is being so mean to August? And we know that he acts really nice in front of adults, and he's kind of sneaky about his meanness. So he's not saying outright, you're ugly, you're different, your face is weird, but he's giving little jabs at him, like, oh, is this person your favorite? And like you saw, August said to us, it's because Darth Sidious's face was melted, and we already know that August's face is different, right? And so, why do you think he's being that way? I can't wait to read your discussion post.